And it's that time of the morning. Here we go with his own intro. No one else gets a personal intro. Warren Holmes doesn't get a personal intro for Sound Connections. And Mark does his own for a Sunday drive at 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. But you get one recorded by us and you've never paid for it. So anyway, here it is.
Time now for the latest news on what's hot and what's not in the world of technology with Matthew Dickerson on Tech Talk. Here on TCFM 88.9.
After that rubbishing, how are you?
So, am I meant to feel special or guilty? I'm not
Guilty.
sure. Guilty, okay.
Guilty.
I feel horribly guilty.
Guilty of needing a haircut. Matthew, let's get serious for a moment. What's number one? I forgot what I wrote for number one, but it is, I was quite perturbed by this. Where is it? Page 2. The latest technology being used by pedophiles as a hunting ground. Serious stuff.
Many people think that if they're playing on their console, they're playing on their Xbox, or they're playing on their PlayStation, they're safe from pedophiles, they're safe from being groomed, if you like. And parents often let their kids play on those consoles thinking that it's quite innocent while they're playing. They're not visiting websites, they're not on social media, so they think it's okay. But with a lot of those games now, you can actually play against other people from anywhere around the world. And of course, they can pretend to be different people than they really are. And there's been some research or some data that's come out of the UK at the moment, and that data is showing that there have been 1,000 cases over the last 2 years in the UK of grooming via the internet, and many of those cases are using gaming consoles such as Xbox and PlayStation. So, and look, I know my son plays, and also sometimes come and ask who he's playing against, and he'll mention someone, and I'll just watch for a little while to make sure that it's not something that looks like the language is sort of that grooming language. I'm not an expert on it, but again, you just want to be conscious of it. And I suppose the main thing here for parents is really just be aware of what your kids are doing, and don't assume just because they're on a gaming console that they're safe from these predators sitting out there in the big wide world. The internet is a happy hunting ground for pedophiles.
Yeah, it's awful. Absolutely awful. Okay. I can't believe this electric vehicle with a microwave in it. What do you do? You drive along, put a pie in the microwave while you're driving along.
It's not so much in it, but what they've done is quite clever. When you think about an electric vehicle, it's just a big battery with some wheels on top. And that big battery is enough to drive a car, but also enough to drive electrical appliances. So Hyundai have got a few Ioniq, the name Ioniq in terms of their branding is already being used, but they've got a new Ioniq 5 that's just been announced. And so what they've done on that is they've said, well, why don't we just put a power point in it? So they've got essentially a power socket inside the vehicle and another power socket outside the vehicle, so you can plug in a microwave or a hairdryer or phone charger, whatever you might like that you would normally be able to plug in. It's got a reasonable amount of power, so it can drive devices that need less than 3.6 kilowatts. So a toaster typically uses, say, 2.5. A kettle uses less than that. So you can plug in just about any electrical appliance that you use around the home, take that with you, go out for wherever you're going and go, oh, we need to use the microwave, the toaster, the hairdryer, whatever it might be, plug it into the car and away you go.
Yeah, but there's a plug inside the car, that's what I was saying. So you have the microwave set up.
You could, absolutely.
Put your pie in while you're driving.
One person I mentioned this to said that'd be fantastic. I'd put my coffee machine in there, but I'm not sure how well the coffee machine would go while you're driving along. I just get rid of that phone call.
Anyway,
someone's got to put their phone on a vibrate before I start.
That happens to me at least once a week here. At least it plays the station jingle. That's all right. Yeah, well, there's all sorts of possibilities.
Absolutely, and look, the Ioniq 5 is really attacking Tesla on the gadget front. Yeah. So what they're doing with that is they're saying, right, we've got a fantastic electric vehicle here. It's got a 480 kilometre range, but how can we out Tesla? And Tesla really started to break the mold for the technology involved. And so with this particular one, they've done things like a heads-up display that's got augmented reality. So not just a speedo on the heads-up display, it will give you, say, the map that you're driving through, any traffic conditions, so things that you need to be aware of as you drive along. The side mirrors are removed, and instead they've got cameras on the side mirrors and then a little tiny display on the side. So you still look to the right and to the left to see your side displays, but instead of looking in an actual mirror, you'd look at a little mini screen that would show you out the side. the idea of that is that A, less wind resistance, so you can get further on your battery, but B, driving into a garage, a tight space, you don't knock the mirrors off when you drive in. So sort of things like that, I think they've really tried to attack the whole, how can we make this technology fantastic? Because electric vehicles don't have a drivetrain through the back or from the front to the back, you've got a flat floor. And what they've done in this vehicle is the console that you would sit between the front and the two front seats normally, that's a sliding island. So you can slide that to the back seats or the front seats. So you can actually put that wherever you like. Again, take advantage of this whole idea that you've got a completely flat floor. How can we use it? So yeah, keep an eye for that. It'll be probably middle of the year before it's out in Australia, but keep an eye for that Ioniq 5 really starting to break down that mould about what a car can do.
I noticed Nissan this morning in the Sydney Morning Herald jumping up and down about Australia not doing enough for electric guitars. Try cars. Moving right along.
That one, Richard, we could do a whole session on that one.
Yeah, right. 29 to 10. Moving right along. If a normal tattoo isn't enough to really annoy people, what's the latest in tattooing? I can't believe this one.
Yeah, some researchers have come up with a stick-on tattoo, so not permanent, but it's a tattoo that can be used to monitor things on your body. So, for example, you could stick a tattoo on a marathon runner, and that tattoo would actually change colours as you're running along if you got too dehydrated. So we're constantly monitoring what's happening inside your body, monitoring the sweat level, monitoring the dehydration levels, and then someone goes along with that tattoo and it starts to change colour. Quick, grab that guy and make sure you get some liquid into him before he keeps running because he's being dehydrated. You can also start to use it for things like blood sugar level, start to use it for things like ECG, so monitoring your health. Again, that's probably one of the main things you use it for, but they can also incorporate a glowing LED into the actual tattoo itself. So you start to incorporate this technology into something that's as thin, we're talking about nanometers of thickness here, as thin as a tattoo that basically sticks onto your body. They can be used for fun things. You can imagine having a concert and everyone comes in and they have these tattoos that they stick on their forehead and they glow at certain parts in certain songs. So I can see uses like that, but also very practical uses from a health perspective.
I can too, and I thought of one that you probably haven't thought of. Being an ex-swimming coach, there's been no way we can transmit information about a swimmer while they are swimming.
Yep.
I mean, we've had tried watches because you'd be wet, and you still sweat as a swimmer, and dehydrate. That would be ideal for a swimmer. Absolutely wonderful.
Because it's straight, it's underneath the water as such. So you're right, when in the water everything's washing away, but having that stuck straight on the skin is basically getting that information straight out of your pores. So the tricky part would be, I can't see at this stage with current technology that you could transmit that to someone on the side of the pool, but it could change colour, or it could actually have information that you get off it afterwards. One of the problems with swimming, whether it be watches or whatever it is, the water is a very good medium to absorb electromagnetic signal.
Right,
So you're trying to get the signal out of the water, it's very difficult to do that, but getting the information afterwards, or having it change colour, for example, if things were going wrong, that would make sense. But yeah, just monitoring their performance, I think you can get that information after they've gotten out of the pool.
Indeed, but while they're swimming along, say a marathon swimmer, or you're doing a 1500, which is 30 laps of an Olympic swimming pool, and you start seeing the tattoo going red. Okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to the dehydration in my body and the way my body's reacting, am I going to be able to put in that last 100, the sprint 100, to win it? And they've got all that sort of information.
Fascinating what we're monitoring on the human body now.
Oh yeah, I'm going to watch this one because I reckon for swimming there's a lot that can happen there. All right, Huawei. My favourite company. Stop smiling.
So sanctions,
and rightly so.
The market's been hurt, obviously, Huawei's market's been hurt by the fact that you have all these sanctions in place, and it started in the US, and obviously a large market for Huawei there, and that suddenly crippled their sales. Australia followed suit. Other countries around the world jumped on board as well. So their mobile phone environment really got taken out from underneath them. So what do? Well, they said, let's go and manufacture something else that we can sell. And what so many technology companies are doing now is they're turning to electric vehicles. So they're actually starting to get into bed with a couple of companies in China to start to look at manufacturing electric vehicles. And really, a modern electric vehicle is a smartphone on wheels. So they're using all the technology they've got, all the information they've built up from manufacturing smartphones, and they're still selling a lot of smartphones in China, just not in the US or Australia. But all that information they've got, they're applying that to cars, and I expect to see a Huawei EV car within a year. Because they haven't just said we'll start the manufacturing process from scratch. They've actually teamed up with some companies that already manufacture, so they can take advantage of their manufacturing assembly line and then basically apply their technology to it.
Yeah. Well, actually, it'll be very interesting to see what happens there, because their technology, as far as you know, spying goes, is very good. We can have spy cars everywhere.
That's right. So the real question, and where they've gotten into trouble around the world, is with their 5G technology.
Exactly.
Are these cars going to have 5G built in? My opinion would be, if they want to sell those cars anywhere outside China, then they shouldn't build 5G into the car. Maybe just leave them on 4G technologies. But in essence, we'll see how they go. They may concentrate on the Chinese market. The good news is for you and I, as consumers, the more companies, the more technology is built into EVs, the better our choice will be, the better the product will be.
Yeah, we just got to get the government to come to line. I was going to ask you about Spot the robot dog. In about 30 seconds, what have you got for Spot?
Yeah,
Here's Spot.
Boston Dynamics will sell you Spot the robot dog for about $90,000 if you'd like one. They've got strict conditions on them. You can't use it with weapons. You can't use it to be in sort of an aggressive situation. But the New York Police Department has bought a few. They've named DigiDog, and they send them into situations that are tough situations to send humans into. And they recently had one where there was a hostage situation. Someone had broken into an apartment, had taken a hostage. They talked to the police. The police didn't want to send in anyone because this person was threatening to do a whole range of things, blow up things, shoot people, all sorts of things. So they sent in Spot the robot dog, or DigiDog, and it had cameras and the ability to talk to people inside and interact with them. And what DigiDog found when he walked up the stairs and walked into the apartment was that there was no one there. So all the threats that this person had been making, they'd already left the apartment. So rather than risk people's lives and send police officers in, they could send DigiDog in, everything's safe. So the situation was basically null and void very quickly because they had DigiDog. So DigiDog's there, but again, Boston Dynamics are very strict on saying, sure, police forces, we're happy for them to use it as long as they don't put a weapon on them.
Right. One question: can DigiDog take a bullet?
It would have to be a strategically located bullet, but there's a lot of electronics built into DigiDog. I reckon it would disable DigiDog pretty quickly.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Matthew, always good talking to you. See you next Wednesday.
Thanks, Richard.
More Tech Talk. DCFM 88.9, 21 to 10.